Hi, I'm Nico and Jean. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button down there, and also like. Any of the buttons down there are good. Like, and also make sure you hit that bell so you can get notified when I upload new videos. So let's jump into the topic today. A lot of times people ask me, how do I get into a good habit of dialoguing with my inner child, right? Because all of you that are here, if you don't already know, I'm going to tell you that one of the most important key things to do in order to really start healing from narcissistic trauma or any kind of trauma in your life, whether it's big T, little t, doesn't matter, is to learn how to reparent your inner child. And your inner child is the part of you that's keeping you stuck around anything you're trying to achieve or overcome in your life, whether it's health, wealth, business, personal relationships. It doesn't matter. It all comes down to that part of you, the inner child part, that is still living in the past, that's stuck in the past, that's scared to move forward, that is fearful of the consequences of what could happen if we do this or that. And this is the place that we're stuck. So the key is to learn how to reparent the inner child. And this really begins with learning to understand how to dialogue with the inner child. And the first step of dialogue with the inner child is being able to connect with your inner child. That's number one. And also to be able to have a certain attitude towards your inner child that is correct and important for establishing rapport. What I've seen a lot with clients, and even myself, I've had this issue, is that especially when we first start doing this, we find that our attitude towards our inner child is not quite conducive to really establishing trust and rapport. And we're not sure why. And it can range anywhere from, say, just feeling sort of disconnected from the inner child to maybe even feeling a little bit of like frustration or disgust towards the inner child. And this is a totally natural trauma response. And this is very common. And what I found helps is that you can do this for yourself, but also this applies to if you're working with clients, say, around this, and say you're a transformation professional and you've got clients that are having this issue, trying to help them tune into their inner child in a way in which they can have empathy and compassion, in which they can show up as a stable inner adult, and they can provide unconditional love and support no matter what the inner child is feeling. So if the client or yourself is showing up as sort of frustrated towards the inner child or the part of self that's stopping them, very common, very understandable. That's a really common one, because like we're trying to get something done, or we're trying to stop procrastinating, or we don't understand why our body is having such a fearful response to something where there doesn't seem to be any danger. And it gets really frustrating when it just stops us over and over. So we tend to have this attitude towards the inner child of like, God, what's wrong with you? I'm so frustrated with you. Why can't you just get over yourself? Right? And that's normal, and that's right. And there's nothing wrong with it necessarily. It's just that it won't establish a good rapport with your inner child, and it actually won't help. So like if you can imagine an inner child, or an actual child, not an inner child, but an actual child that's throwing a fit, say in the grocery store, right? And you got maybe a toddler that's just thrown down in the grocery store floor. And probably the best approach isn't to say, God, what's wrong with you? Why can't you just get it together? Why can't you just pull yourself together? So I need to get up to the checkout because I need to get home and make dinner. And you're making life so hard for me. You see what I'm saying? Like, that wouldn't probably be the way you would actually speak to an actual child, right? That's not healthy, right? We know also it's not healthy, and it's not going to get results. It's probably going to make the child dig in harder. Or at least it's shaming the child, and that's toxic parenting, right? Which, like, blaming a child for their response in which they're not developed mentally at a place where they can be expected to respond like an adult to whatever their circumstances are. So we don't want to have an approach towards the inner child that mimics like an unhealthy toxic parenting kind of approach. However, the problem is many of us have had unhealthy toxic parenting of many levels in the past, and we don't even realize that we're actually treating our inner child the way we were treated. We don't realize maybe we're not even doing it in our actual life, like with our own children or whoever's in our life, but we're doing it to our inner child. And that's where like that awareness is so important. So what I say is that if you're in that space, or your client is, what you can do is have your client tune into something a little different than the inner child. So something like, think about either your own child or think about a pet. That usually people have an easier time having compassion towards a pet, an animal, or a helpless baby animal. So have them tune into like either a pet, so it's an animal that they have a relationship with, or tuning into maybe like if they have in their past ever saved a baby squirrel or a baby bird, or they had a relationship in which there was a vulnerable, being that was completely vulnerable to their environment. And what that does is if you have them tune into that energy, then it invokes that empathy, it invokes that compassion, and it invokes like the inner parent or caretaker that just automatically kicks in our system. It's natural. We have a natural innate, capacity to care for and nurture other beings. It's actually our true self. So we can sort of override or sort of trick that old pattern that shows up towards our inner child that comes from the modeling we had. We sort of go around it and we invoke that natural part of us that is naturally loving and compassionate. And if you can get yourself or your client to tune in like that, you can take that as like a template and lay it over the inner child dialogue. And you can even have your client speak to that being first. So I would say, like, imagine that this baby squirrel is really scared and, is afraid to move forward, is afraid to jump into your arms and let you take it home and care for it. Or imagine that you're talking to your own 2-year-old and your own 2-year-old is upset and scared. How would you respond? So you get your client or yourself to tune into that being, and then you get the dialogue started, speaking to that part of you. So if you're talking to yourself, you could just be like, oh, it's okay. I know you're scared. I'm so sorry you're scared. It's okay. I promise I'm here. Really simple, right? Simple, comforting language. And then you can start to actually use that as a surrogate towards your inner child, or your client can use it as a surrogate towards their inner child. And you can move them towards them. Once they get into that energy, the body will process it as dialogue towards the inner child. And then you can even move them into the inner child dialogue once they get it going. You say, okay, now I want you to direct this towards your actual inner child. And that's a really good way to open that up. So I hope that's helpful to you. And I have to tell you that this is something that, believe me, I have done all this work and I've experimented with all these different ways of dialoguing with the inner child. And so I've actually experienced this for myself, my own trauma resolution, and I've worked with so many clients with these kinds of approaches, and they work, even though they seem a little silly or even too simple. But it's the most simple things in life, the simple truths that actually work. Our mind wants to make things complicated and hard, but it doesn't have to be. So if you're interested in getting some support and help around learning to dialogue with your own inner child, there has never been a better time than right now to join the Heartshine EFT Mastermind, because we are about to start a 30-day inner child dialogue challenge in the mastermind itself. So definitely, if you're interested in working with me, look down in the description and I've got some ways to work with me. I also have some other helpful information, things that I have found helpful for myself in life. So you can take a look at the description and all those things you can click on down there. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope that this was helpful to you. I really appreciate you coming to my channel and watching my videos. I know many of you have been watching them for a long time. Sometimes I'll hear, every once in a while, someone will say, oh, your videos really helped me. And I think, wow, I don't even realize, I don't know all of you, but I just wanted to say that to you. Like anyone out there that's been watching my videos or watching my videos now, even though I don't know you, I would just want to send you love and light, and on your path of healing. I am wishing you the best, and I hope that these videos do help you on that path. So until next time, everybody, may it be at ease and no joy.